and welcome to the very first episode of SPADS Golf, brought to you by us, the normal SPADS crew you've been used to seeing over a few weeks, and we've been joined by none other than PGA professional, Mr Miyagi, Sam Smith. How are we doing, Sam?
Yeah, all good, guys. You all okay?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate.
Not bad, not bad. So,
Thank you very much for having me on.
you're welcome. Thank you for coming us on.
Thanks for coming.
and giving us some sort of credence with this with this podcast about golf, because so we originally started the SPADS podcast as potentially a golf thing. We then realised that we had no authority to talk about golf because we're terrible, and that's why we've managed to convince you over the course of weeks to come and bring you into the 21st century with social media, etc., because you're a bit camera shy.
That's correct.
Just thought we'd get that out there first of all. So, so just for those that obviously you've been used to seeing us for weeks in the golf, we'll just give you a roundup of us as golfers and how often we play on our handicaps currently. Obviously, Sam is a PGA professional. He coaches golf for a living. He has the task of teaching me and Dave currently. I'm letting him down. But I hope to do better.
Which in turn is letting us down on a Sunday.
yeah, absolutely.
You will do better. You will do better.
So I've been playing for about 18 months solidly now. I'm currently 23.5. I play once a week on a Sunday, and I'm having lots of lessons because there's lots to fix. Kev?
What was my handicap?
32.8 at the moment.
32.8. It's been like that for a while, to be fair, because I haven't played. I've been playing for about 2 years now. I've played on and off over the years, but never consistent or anything. It's just like once every 6 months. But yeah, I play most Sundays, to be fair. Obviously, I was getting better before Christmas, but I think the break's not helped me. But, rougher weather out there, and, but we get there.
And that's golf. Mr. Goebel?
18.3 needs to be lower than that. I've been playing probably 20 years now. Shocking.
Long.
Try and play every week.
Half
Obviously,
your life.
family and kids and work and stuff getting away, but at least once a week would be good.
And Mr. Pope?
I think I'm 21.3.
21.3. Yeah.
That's a good guess.
Working the decimals, by the way.
Yeah, you see? World Handicap System, My England Golf, we're fully in.
Yeah.
Every little help.
Makes a lot of difference on the chart when you go, please give me an extra shot, please give me an extra shot.
It's like being 5'5.5". The half matters. The decimal matters.
Only if you're 5'5".
Why do you look at me when you say that?
Does it matter, Kev?
Sam, you don't have as a PGA professional, you don't have a handicap as such. You're just a PGA professional.
I don't, but that is one of our things to do. Getting back into playing golf more. I coach an awful lot, but I'd like to get an EGU handicap. That'd be cool. The lowest I got in this country was 0.2.
Okay.
And in the States, I was a plus handicap, but it was a lot easier system out there. And then, turned professional, so I got some shots back, which was quite nice.
And how long have you been coaching for now?
Professionally, 18 years.
Wow.
But I liked helping the guys on my college team. I liked helping juniors at my club as a sort of 16, 15-year-old. So I've always loved coaching. My coach himself helps players a lot. Lee Scarborough was my first coach, and I've taken it from him to help as many people as I can, really.
And you still enjoy it 18 years later?
Yeah, I love it.
I know you're a real liver and breather of the sport, aren't you? Absolutely. Read everything you can, every seminar.
I love golf. Obviously, love my family as well, so spend as much time as I can with them, but golf takes over most of the time. But just coaching, I've coached about between 30 and 40 lessons a week for most of those years, probably 15 of those years.
That's a lot. That's good going, that, isn't it? That's
always loved coaching. And the feedback you get from juniors in particular is great. And they say 10,000 hours to get good at something, so I'm getting towards the end of being quite good at coaching as well.
Well, I would say I could be the test piece for you, but I'm probably not the best. I'm not the best example, the best project.
You do yourself a disjustice, Kev. The improvements that are there.
For, did you say a year and a half?
18 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've come down, 10 points in your handicap?
I guess so, yeah. So, I don't know.
Just in terms of getting it around about one over a hole, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is you're a perfectionist, Kev. You want instant success.
Yes, I do. Yes,
And the golf is too
I wanted to have
complicated
completed
for
it by
instant
now. I
success.
haven't, and
It's too complicated for instant
Okay,
success.
I have not completed it, and I'm nowhere near.
No, I know. That's. I mean, we'll come on to talk about that a little bit later on. So, Sam, we talked yesterday before coming on the pod. I haven't give the boys because I wanted to see their feedback as you talk about it. We wanted to run the theme of this pod today. This first episode is 5 tips that the average handicapper, because most of these people that's going to be watching this is probably going to be mid to high handicappers, weekend warriors, weekend golfers like ourselves, looking for tips to improve their game. Obviously, you've got lots of tips. I know you need to see people as well. It's very specific with terms of it. But we talked a little bit about 5 things that you think that high handicappers, mid handicappers, and all handicappers could do to improve it. The first one we talked about was one thing I know that you're big on is aiming from behind the ball. So I don't know if you just want to tell us what that means and what your idea of that is.
So as you say, most people won't even get close to perfecting it, let alone, most people won't get to a stage where they're consistent. It's a hard game. So if you have a process to start with that allows you to orientate around the ball, so aiming what you want the ball to do, where you want the ball to go, like you would with other sports. If you orientate from that side, you won't get too stuck in trying to make a perfect swing. You could spend quite a few years on a driving range trying to perfect your golf swing and actually not be able to play golf. So there's the mixture, obviously. But number one, if you aim from behind, you can see what's in front of you. I say that from every level of golf, junior golf in particular. If your little one's going to play golf, they've got to check first off no one's behind them so they don't whack them with a club, and they've got to check no one's in front of them so they don't whack them with the ball. And that's the start of the process. If you get behind the ball, if you watch any golf, you'll notice they're behind the ball. They're the best players. They plan out where they want their ball to go, and it's not always necessarily at the target. Sometimes you have to play away from it for wind, a break on a putt, etc. But if you start in that way, you've got a better chance of aligning properly. I always try and say if you aim a gun from the side, you wouldn't hit the target. You've got to aim it from down the barrel, and that's the start of any process. And that just changes the way you think about golf as well. If you think about it, if you approach from the side, I tend to find people who approach from the side are engineers, very technical, have a big plan for their swing and not a very big plan for their ball. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. They're good people to work with because they'll improve the golf technique, and you have to make them more artist and look out the window a bit more.
The one that really resonated for me, and it's one thing he said to me, and I stand behind the ball now and try and get that clear picture. The one for me was that you don't aim the gun from the side, and that is something we can get into in golfing because we play from the side. Is we kind of line everything up from the side. We don't ever stand behind. That really resonated with me as in, you used the example of holding a gun like that. You don't shoot a gun like that. You'd never hit your target.
You're always down the barrel.
Yeah.
That's one of the first real issues with golf. You're trying to trust someone that shouldn't be trusted. So it might not go where you want it to go, but you've still got to back yourself to do it.
Sure.
So Nick Faldo actually talked a lot about the biggest issue with golf is the cognitive dissonance around trying to trust someone that shouldn't be trusted. Mm-hmm. Basically, even he knew his would go wrong at times, but he's still got to have complete faith in it to hang it over the crowd and hit it onto the green. So I've know with my own game and with helping others, that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. Just trusting your own system, trusting your instincts, trusting the brilliance of the brain over the beginner phase of something. If you have a long checklist, you'll always be a beginner, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. In terms of that, boys, is that something you guys do in your game? Is it standing behind the ball?
No, because I was going to ask, is that standing behind the ball? It doesn't have to be a long process, does it?
No.
Just get it into your head. I know my shot shape.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to start it there for it to end there.
Yeah.
Stand behind it, do that. It's as simple as that.
Brilliant.
Because it's something I don't do.
And when you're standing over the side of the ball, something I know I do, so I know you guys probably do, then you start to question, am I aiming right?
Yeah.
And then I start to...
My aim is shocking, because I used to use my feet, but now I...
The same approach. I wouldn't be able to pull a trigger unless I was aiming at someone I didn't like.
You're aiming at me.
You wouldn't have confidence that something that works well repeatedly every time a gun, barring little problems, but that goes where you're aiming it.
Yeah.
And if you still had to aim that from the side, your confidence should be 100%, otherwise you'd be reckless.
It sort of takes that need to think about it when you're about to take swing as well. If you do that bit first,
Yeah.
then you're going to be calmer stood there, aren't you?
Yeah.
And again,
I've never thought. Thanks.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't overthink.
Yeah.
You wouldn't overthink it, would you?
Yeah, and it's the
Like
last
say,
thing you want in
wouldn't
golf, isn't it?
overthink-
Something else
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah.
You still will.
Yeah.
That dissonance is there for me, and as I say, I know pretty much where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to get myself ready to hit my shot, plan my shot out, and say, right, whatever happens from here happens.
I suppose it's a lot worse for those that have got a shape to their shot as well, because there's a little bit more to think about, i.e. those that
But
slice.
for those that do shape it, you need to start the ball where you
Yeah.
want it, not your feet.
Yeah.
You want to aim the club. If you cut it, you better aim the face left, otherwise you'll be walking right a lot.
Yeah.
So
And that's one of the things you saying there as well. And the boys will know playing with me. One of the first things, the very first lesson when I came to you was, I don't want you to hit that ball until you've got a clear picture of where you want to start that ball and where you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've really tried to come into, of standing behind the ball and having a clear picture.
it's the only thing that will work under pressure. So you can, by the side of it, on the driving range with 80 goes at it, maybe have 10 swing thoughts, and kind of, if you work through the session and you might be able to work all these swing thoughts in and start flushing it. You can't then put that on a USB and plug it in next time you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's there for that little bit of moment. You can maybe make some notes. You can make some mental notes, maybe driving home. That would help. You store some of this information as opposed to leaving it until the course and then go, oh shit, what did I do on the range the other day? So in terms of people trying to at least be going forwards, the first thing is a process to organise the chaos, because there's a lot going on.
And that kind of fits into tip number 2, which is obviously having a structure, having a routine.
That was very slick, was it?
Yeah, you see that? You see that? See that we did that? We're professionals here, Sam. We're professionals. It's not our first rodeo. So he talks about having a structure, having a routine, something that's repeatable. And number 1, we talked about as well, one of the things you want to do is make sure that you build from the club outward, or from the ball basically outwards, and build your routine. Again, I don't know if you want to tell us how important the structure is, why we need a structure.
To organise the chaos. So if we say golf's about as random as it gets, the square box you practice on the range or in a studio has lines on it. It points you where you want to go. When you go to a golf course, the architect's constantly trying to push you into the wrong place, or bunkers are trying to steer your eye line somewhere, or basically they're trying to make you doubt what you're doing. So if you can have a system that repeatedly does what you do on the range, on the course, i.e. club in first, feet starting together, if you have your arms hanging vertically straight down and take your correct grip and build around the club, you'll be the right distance from the ball. So there'll be a lot less fidgeting. I know that's a question people ask a lot. I'm teaching myself left-handed, so I'm using a lot of the things that I didn't remember as a kid as reference to help me with other students. I don't remember not really being able to do it pretty well. So for me, left-handed helps me understand that if I move my hand a bit, it's awful. And to actually change it, it's really dramatic. To get a picture difference, to get a number difference, it's probably equally as dramatic, but it's change is really, really hard. So the point of having a structure is when we come back to lessons, we can again build around the club, feet together, feet apart. If we've got an issue with ball position, we can address it right there and just say, look, this is where it is, and just and get it correct. But in terms of aiming your system, is there a camera sort of here?
Yep, one up there.
So, if I aim from behind, I've got a straight line for where I'm going, and I can draw a T-square to that point in my head. So if I'm now aiming over here, I'll get behind and I draw that line, and I've got a T-square from there, and I've now set up my driving range mat in my head, wherever I want to start the ball, and that essentially is your start.
Yeah.
And do you want people aiming their feet square? Not necessarily No. There's been some good players that have aimed left, and there's been good players that have aimed right. I would say the feet don't have much influence on what the ball's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, very little influence on what the ball's going to do.
See, that's. I always thought the feet had a massive part to play.
If they're not touching the ball, unless you're doing the old foot wedge.
I always thought aim your feet where you want the ball to go, and then I've started realising that it's more my shoulders than my feet.
Yeah.
Or is it club? Is it club? Which determines where it goes.
The club is predominant in terms of start direction for the golf ball. Again, with golf, there's so many faces on that golf club. If the ball goes over there, the face could have been pointing over there, but it could also have hit this edge.
Yeah.
Pointing over there. Equally, this little beauty here, the shank, has got quite a lot of degrees of projection.
Yep, very familiar with the shank.
Yeah.
So,
The old hosel rocket.
so in terms of analysing your own golf, if you mishit it, don't analyse it, because quite simply, you won't know what's caused it.
Strike doesn't tell you anything. It's what you bang on to me all the time.
Strike
doesn't tell you that it's a bad swing.
Yeah, strike tells you that you didn't hit the ball in the middle of the club. And if Roger Federer whacks one into the crowd off the corner of the racket, does that mean he's crap?
No.
No. Does he then throw all the toys out the pram and start checking his right wrist position and his left foot position? He just shakes it off and flicks his hair and gets on with the next one. But if there's a difference between poor technique and poor timing.
Yeah.
When Joe Root gets out with an edge, his technique was probably good. He just didn't time it quite right.
Mm-hmm.
So much of it's down. Strike is ultimately the most important bit. You can make a perfect golf swing, and if the club doesn't hit the ball doesn't move.
There's different aspects of getting to that final important point, which is...
And then talking about a pre-shot routine, Sam, we talked about it yesterday as well, is the pre-shot routine needs to have a reason for it, not just do it because you think you've got to have it. It has to have a purpose behind it, doesn't it?
100%.
Not just a tick list.
Idiosyncrasies are involved in different routines that we see. So the famous ones we see are Johnny Wilco with his getting himself centred. Let's say Nadal picking at his bum lots of times, but the same amount of times every time.
Have you counted that? Is that something that...
No, someone else counted it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Please, no, I didn't count it myself. But it has been counted, and it has been seen that throughout a tournament he'll do it the same amount of times. And that isn't helping his tennis ball in any way. Cause it's
nor his arsehole, I imagine.
Bit sore. Bit of Sudocreme needed.
But OCD is a genuine...
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's something you can't say.
I think is Nadal the one who puts his bottles funny as well? Puts his bottles the same age.
I didn't know about his bum.
It was like Paul Ince as well, wasn't it? He never put a shirt on, always touched it until he got out.
Yeah.
That was it until he got out on for the
superstitions, routine.
You've got to remember, most people who are good at stuff are somewhere on, the spectrum, and because they care enough to practice to the point where they get to be brilliant.
Sure.
So people who don't care don't tend to get very good because they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So at the heart of most, top people, there is OCD massively involved in all of that.
Yeah. It's that obsession on that one thing, isn't it? Getting it right, etc., etc.
Being the best at something, you've got to do an extraordinary amount of hours, and that only happens for a certain type of people.
Yeah. Moving on onto the third tip. You're looking at the thing there because you've forgotten. The third one we was talking about, you've touched on a little bit earlier on. Really important, and I think this is one of the main things. Definitely, what I need to learn. You always say it's more a ball game, be more artist than engineer. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about why we choke as well, about not why we can, stumble and that sort of stuff. But explain what you mean by it. So the tip would be play it more as a ball game. What do you mean by that?
If you take any sport, for example, if you looked at your hand when you were bowling a cricket ball, or if you watched your hand when you hit a tennis ball, you don't allow the brilliant bits of your brain to get involved. Everyone basically is going to swing their own swing, and you can obviously help develop people. And one of the things we're talking Miyagi golf, it doesn't have to be with a club. Mm-hmm. It's if you can touch golf for 5 minutes a day, you know, in your front room or in your office or in the bathroom, wherever, it means you don't have to put your clubs in the car, you don't have to go at the driving range. It's freezing at the moment. Balls are always crap at most of them. It's easy to access, and to get good at something, you have to access it regularly, daily. So if you're making a swing change, i.e. How you move your body, and we can set you a way to practice that and be able to see it in a mirror and be able to rehearse it and get a feel for it, and that helps it pass into the autonomous phase. We have to appreciate, you know, there's a cognitive phase to everything, you know, when we learn anything. That phase of learning is something you have to go through. You have to learn the dance steps before you get any flow. And sometimes you don't get any flow.
Like me, I've got the steps. I haven't got.
Let's just say, you know, and that autonomous golf is the best performance phase. But you know, if you're a beginner, you're not going to be in that phase. You're going to have a checklist, but you've got to summarise it into something that you can use. Otherwise, you have 15 things to think about, and none of those will strike the ball well.
And just, gents, is that something you've come across? Some of the things that Sam's saying, or are we?
I've totally. So where I've had my lesson, I was obviously trying too hard, looking at these guys, thinking, you know, I'm so far behind them. But then when I went to the lesson, it was Will was like, right, what do you need to? Right, my grip. I need to just calm down. I'm trying it. He's like, right, first thing you do is your grip. So I did my grip. Now, after Martin said to me, he goes, yeah, you're doing your grip at the minute. He goes, give it a few weeks. You would just do your grip naturally. Yeah. And I find it now, I do that, and I'm already not overthinking it, because the things that I would normally be overthinking, I'm not really doing it as much, because, right, I'm going, right, where am I going? I want to go up there. And it's already done nicely. And it just does help you, I think, obviously.
If you take it from that lesson and that evening, put your hands on the club in the right way in your front room. Yeah. Put it back down. Carry on watching what you're watching. The next day, pick it up for a minute or two. If you can, chip a ball. Some short game stuff with it.
Kelly will be well pleased with that. Start chipping balls around the kitchen.
So will the local window companies.
Funny you should mention that. Sam owns a window company.
When you grip, when you told the grip, don't hold it there for the whole session and like someone's going to nick it.
Yeah.
Is it almost like trying to make it?
The process of off and on is actually the art.
Just the habit of
just make
like almost muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like just so it just becomes natural almost.
If you can do it just a bit.
Yeah.
For that first week of that lesson, or alternatively, if you go to the next lesson in 2 weeks' time that you booked and go, oh shit, what did he say? And you haven't touched the club.
Yeah.
He's going to say the same thing to you, and you've wasted your 80.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's one thing. Again,
that comes back to process.
Yeah.
Will obviously knows his stuff, and if you have if you watch Justin Rose, he puts his hands on the club in a very meticulous fashion.
I generally do that
really
now. So
good.
when I go on it, I mean, I generally know how I want to hold it, but it's generally thumb near the logo. And it's like, there it is. And I'm not like overthinking it now. So when I first did it, I was like, right, I've got to get it right. Now I'll do my, how I'm standing. But now it's just like, right, there's the logo, there, my hand.
I suppose it's about taking all those little steps and not having to think about all those little steps while you stood there. Just get it all become natural.
Got it wrong just through communication or just the fact that it's hard.
Yeah.
You've got a reference point then.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just there, it's there. And
Yeah.
You can fine tune it. I'll teach the same thing in 5 or 6 lessons, because that person's not going to get it in 2 weeks all the time.
No.
But they get it more, and then they can let it flow a bit more.
Yeah.
That's why one-off lessons will take someone from their level. They start playing badly, they get a lesson, they play all right again, and then then you don't actually ever get better. The best times I was always told to have lessons are when you're playing well, just to keep trucking on, keep getting better.
Yeah.
And
see, I think that's gold for golf, because there's this misconception since having with is that you have to go to the driving range to practice your swing. You have to be going somewhere playing to improve it. You have to be but like you say, 15 minutes, 10 minutes a day, every day is better than once a week an hour at range.
A lot of people don't think that, do they?
No, but
sometimes it's the little things that make the most difference, like holding the club. You can go down the driving range.
Yeah,
50
exactly.
times, not.
Yeah.
But how many golfers do you think out there have been told a grip change, but are doing that? Are of an evening picking it up, putting it back down again?
No,
None.
I never speak to anyone I know
No.
that tries anything at home.
No, exactly. But
Apart from you.
that's. But I think there's a misconception that it wouldn't help. But that's where we've got that misconception wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very integral part. It's the only bit of the club that you're holding. So the grip's going to be the only contact with the club. And unless you're going to kick it.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? You grab it wrong, you know you've grabbed it wrong. You never stop there.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure whether it's right or wrong.
So now you're
You don't
overcome, I've talked about that distance, now you're trying to overcome something that you know is wrong.
Yeah.
Not just it might go wrong, you know it's wrong. And then,
Yeah.
then you've got to commit to it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by about? Obviously, I know, but in terms of more artist than engineer, more information with your eyes is the thing you always say to me.
Yeah, for example, putting, if you take in the stimuli, you shouldn't have to think how hard to hit it. If you're thinking how hard to hit it, you haven't taken in the information, and it then becomes a guess. The amount of people I see have a look where they're going like this, and I'm thinking, you better have a photographic memory, because there's no way your brain has seen what you're about to try and do.
Speed camera.
If you again watch the best, they're having a look, and the brain takes in the information in the same way. If I had to chuck some into that corner, if I had a look, my brain would do the maths. It would weigh the thing I've done all subconsciously, and it would throw it.
Yeah, it's not. I started doing a bit of putting practice last week. I noticed you don't think about how hard you've got to hit it. After a while, you just make the swing.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you know it.
Yeah.
It is the human brain telling you. You know what you've got to do here.
It's the only similarity to putting, because it's so random, is underarm throwing, or take.
Yeah, we can throw a ball to each other without thinking, this is this far.
But that's the
that
point,
far.
right? That's
So
the
it is
point.
the same
But
thing.
now do it, trying to take your hand back 6 inches and through 8 inches.
Yeah.
Keeping your head still, and keeping your right toe on the floor, or whatever it is that people do. Yeah, there's.
Yeah, it's the same with chipping. Isn't it? Chipping's the same, because you think, this is only a 50% now. We're going to come back 50%. You just overthink it.
Yeah.
You know, don't you?
Yeah.
On the first, when we went and played.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
On the first green, I had a little chuckle and said to you on the second tee, here's a good amateur thing for you to do. It was my first game of golf in a month or so. I've stood on the first green, I've had a little look, and I've said, make sure you hit it hard enough. So what have I done? Whacked it. How many putts have I hit in my life? And I've said, make sure you hit it hard enough. So
Get it to the hole.
and we know these conversations, or don't hit it too hard.
Yeah.
I'd much rather get it past the hole than miss one short.
But as I say, if you ever stood over a putt thinking, how hard am I going to hit this? Just stop.
Yeah.
Have a little look.
Stop and walk away. None of us do it. None of us do
And
it.
the
Should have
reason-
walked away.
We've got 10 people behind us. Mate.
The thing that builds you the confidence, though, is the bit you did for me. We stood in the studio, you gave me a ball, you walked to the other side, and you said, I want you to throw this ball to my hand. And I got it to you without thinking, just thrown it to you within seconds, stuff like that. And like you say, I made so we all know we can do it with that. I made no adjustments, I made no thought about it. I just held the ball in my hand and threw it and got it.
Yeah, we take the human genius out
But
of
then
everything
you look
because
when
we
we go-
overthink everything.
But then you look when we go to putt.
Yeah,
we
I'm
stand
terrible.
there. I mean, I don't get down as much as you. I have a little look, but I don't.
You haven't got as far to get down there, have you?
He's having the short jokes today,
But to
isn't
be
he?
fair, I don't want to overthink it too much, because that's when I think you do overthink, and that's when there's no point. I just literally have a look and I go, right, where obviously you like to have a look.
But I'm doing that at the moment because my confidence is shot to bits.
The greens are rubbish at the minute.
I'm not talking slow play here. I'm just saying, when you walk over the green to put your bag at the back of the green, or when you walk, just have a look as you're walking.
Yeah.
And your brain will pick up stuff pretty quickly. And then again, it comes back to your process. If you come back behind it and get a good start line, technically wise, you want very little with your putting. You want some of that works repeatedly, more through ultimately less planes. I don't want to get too technical, but
No.
you can make your underarm throw action pretty much your putting action.
Yeah.
So
I've got a repeatable spatting stroke. I just miss that fucking round hole all the time. I can miss that consistently time after time without even thinking
By
about
miles.
it. Yeah. My putting's terrible. One of the things we always talked about, Sam, is one of the things that high handicappers don't do. We're all I think this is probably one of the best tips. The thing is the practice structure, as in we are all very guilty of going to a driving range and hitting 20 drivers off the tee, one after the other, not standing behind the ball. And when on the course do we ever hit 20 drivers? Or 47 irons, as you put it yesterday?
Because the driving range is boring.
yeah. But you were saying about better structure. Think more about.
Very much. The best thing about golf is its randomness.
Yeah.
The fact you don't know what you're going to get ever.
Mm-hmm.
You can expect whatever you want, but you're probably going to get something different to it.
Yeah.
You're never going to hit the same shot twice from the same place. There's a billion variables around, a billion square inches of grass. There's so many different places you can hit a golf shot from. I don't think hitting from a square mat time after time after time to the same target is fun. You say it's boring.
It doesn't teach you anything because you don't play off a mat on the court.
But we're all guilty of it, though.
But I think the driving range has a very specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Swing change and possibly ball flight.
But
other than that, I think it's pretty much useless.
Get your body moving.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't.
For beginners, it's safer. It's more accessible. There's less watched. There's less fear of getting it wrong. And ultimately, they're great for golf because they get people playing.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I don't want people wasting their time practicing something that's not going to get them better. That's something I hate to see. And I'll stop someone if they're doing something that's not going to make them any better because it's a waste of their time and ultimately it will help them.
We did it.
He's just waiting to break the news to you again.
What did we do at the court at the driving range once where we had was it 4 balls?
Yeah,
clubs?
When I go to the range, I sometimes try and mix it up. I am guilty of hitting 15 drivers, I think. Sometimes what I try and do is I get the course up, so I think, right, this is a 360 par 4, hit me driver, then think, right, that's gone 200 yards because I've topped it. I flushed it, and now I've got to hit a 5 iron in, and I think, right, that was I only went 70 yards and stuff like that. But what we did do in the range as well, we picked a spot and we had to hit 5 balls with like 5 different clubs to the same target. So obviously we took a 9 iron, then we're trying to do it with a 4 iron, then we're trying to do it so just to try and play with.
We did that in the simulator last weekend. We played par 3 course with a random club generator.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was, honestly, it was so good. So best club of mine was...
Which one was more fun, your driving range experience or your...
I walked away wanting to go and buy an R10.
An R10.
So if you think, then that's brilliant because kids learn when they've got snot on their face and they're having a good time. They don't learn...
That's Dave learns.
That's how Dave goes to work.
When you're caring about what people think... You're not concentrating on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why kids learn better, because they don't care if they're being watched.
Yeah.
Whereas we care about being watched. So, that's, for me, one of the biggest things to get over.
So if someone goes to the driving...
You'll learn more. Splashing
we were annoyed we couldn't play golf, but the simulator, honestly, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just because it's...
But, chipping 3 balls at a time and having some competition. You'll learn more from hitting 7 balls.
100%.
You'll learn how to do it when it goes quiet.
Yeah.
We know that's the time to...
Yeah.
On that first tee, when it goes quiet, the other times we...
It's never quiet on the first.
No,
that's not.
That's ultimately leading back to that routine. That's ultimately what it prepares you for, because... Under times of anxiety, it's proven through science, humans regress from autonomous behaviour to cognitive behaviour. So let's go back to the throw. If I throw into a bin over there, I'll just chuck it, my brain does the maths. Then someone says, for £1,000, if you miss, you give me £1,000. All of a sudden, you start looking at your hand and thinking how far you need to throw and start weighing it. So that happens in everyday life. The reason these guys have routines, the reason Michael Jordan did what he did, the reason Johnny Wilkinson did what he did, it's all about them getting into the autonomous mode and being able to trust what they're about to do. Because they know under times of anxiety, people choking is essentially when someone who's really good at something thinks about it too much to the fact that they fail.
Harry Kane.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, didn't we?
He's brilliant and he's done everything, but ultimately that's a choke. They worked with a sports psychologist on their routine before 2 or 3 tournaments ago when they did well in penalties, and since that point he's had a really good routine. I would say, I haven't looked back at it myself, but I'll guarantee the routine would be a bit different, to the point where it shook him to the point where he's just gone, I'm just going to hit it harder, as opposed to picking the plate that he's going to hit, taking everything else out of it and hitting that target. But that's easy for me to say because I'm not doing it for England. But they know that process, and it's a very common, well-known thing. Johnny Wilco was picturing where he wanted to go because he knew when that stadium went quiet, that's when he needed to trust what he's doing and go through from there. Michael Jordan the same. He'd picture the ball going into the bit of the net that he wanted and trust it from there, to the point where he did one with his eyes closed in one of the matches. Got himself set, closed his eyes and straight in. That's ultimate trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I hit golf balls with my eyes closed, I've had to learn to not go searching for it, to just trust what I do and it'll get in the way.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm way more in the autonomous phase than your club golfer. But ultimately, if you're going to learn the game, I'd want to be on the course. I wouldn't want to be on a driving range.
No.
I'd want...
But if you, sorry Sam, if you can't, because not everybody can get to the range all the time. There's a finance thing as well. Some people can't afford to join clubs and play green fees every week. If you can go to the range, what's the best way to simulate? Is it, like we said, is it you hit a driver, then you hit a 5-iron, then you hit a, rather than 30 shots all the same?
That's definitely a way. Competition is important. Keep it varied is important. If it feels easy, stop doing it. Change to something else. Because golf's never easy. If you practice first and you're working on your alignment, put a stick down by all means for the first 2, and then try it without the stick, and then put the stick back and then try it without. Basically make your practice as random as the game's going to be.
Yeah.
Go from.
I remember that with Ajay. Come up behind it.
If you're going from a 45-inch club, your driver, to a 35-inch club, your sand wedge, and you don't do the game for a living, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Imagine adding 10 inches to...
Well,
steady.
What's 10 inches look like, Ken?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, imagine adding 10 inches to your tennis racket in between shots.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that we never talk about.
That's where the Cobra One links came in, because they tried to
absolutely.
take that part of the game out of it.
And
But
Ben Hogan and Bryson obviously did that.
Yeah.
Side
It works for some, but just not.
Yeah. The theory behind it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
But you got to come down to, was the 7-iron the best club to choose?
Well, yeah, that's it.
For him, yeah, obviously. But if you've held a 7-iron length wedge, it's funny.
Yeah. Because one of the blokes we play with, he had them, and it was just bizarre. Yeah. Why is this wedge so long?
But that is never talked about, the length of clubs, and we don't even factor that into everything we think about when we fatter shot, thinner shot, off the hose or whatever. We never think about that every shot we're going completely different lengths. You say it doesn't happen in any other sport.
I've already said if you're an inch out, you could hit a bit of the racket that's pointing over there.
Yeah.
That club travels, let's say 7 or 8 metres, and let's say you're 3 centimetres out. Let's make the maths easy for you.
Thanks.
7 centimetres out, you miss the ball completely. You could make a Tiger Woods golf swing, and the ball stays still.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got it 7 centimetres out of 7 metres, under 1% out, and the ball hasn't moved.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was perfect.
Yeah.
So that whole aspect of the game has to be appreciated.
It is so complex.
Yeah. And that,
I think that's why when you love golf, why you love it, because it is so.
Well, that builds into our 5th and final tip. Is
have I covered the other points? Did I answer any?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's. I'm mindful of time as well. I don't want to keep everybody too long into it as well. The one we talked about as well about golf and how hard it is and everything else like that. One thing that high handicappers need to do is perseverance. Understand. It's a hard game. There's lots to it. And I wrote a quote down you said on the phone yesterday. It makes me laugh. And I think you said, if you want easy, go and lick walls.
Yeah.
You might be regretting that comment now.
I'd say that's a summary of, if it's easy to do, there's no reward.
Mm-hmm.
So as I say, if you want something easy to do, the reward of licking the wall is what you get.
Yeah, I've done the lounge.
The reward of hitting golf shots, decent golf shots, is what gets people hooked. And if it was really easy, so imagine you played golf with a gun, like I said. If it was pretty easy it wouldn't be that much fun.
No.
You know, the random. You know, I get bored of Tiger Woods golf after a few goes because it's
so easy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why fads become fads in some sports.
And why golf is still growing and is the best game in the world because
it is the best, worst, shittest, best, greatest, horriblest, best game in the world.
And trust me, I've talked to people about it, and it's not, you know, it drive you nuts.
Yeah.
But if you let it, you know, and if you can.
I do every Sunday.
Yeah.
The whole point of what I'm saying there, if you can try and play it as a ball game, you'll enjoy it more than being a technical mess of thoughts and not getting anywhere, because you'll always be a beginner if you have 20 things on.
I think that's half the problem. Us non-pros, we try too hard and not enjoy it, but we do enjoy it, if that makes sense.
One of the things I think we do, and this is a completely different subject, is we don't appreciate what's a good shot for our handicap and our skill level. You know, if we're 80 yards out and we've stuck it to 15 feet, all of a sudden we're thinking, we should probably stick it closer than that. Like, that's a great shot.
15 feet would be nice.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a great shot you've got on the green. I think sometimes high handicappers we don't appreciate what our expectation levels are. We should be sticking it on. It should be zipping back.
But again, that's because I don't think we realise how hard the game actually is.
No.
And then are furious when you miss the 15-footer, which according to tour levels got, way under half. 50%.
Yeah, the percentage of putts for tour
on the best greens with a caddy reading it for you.
Yeah,
and you play quite good.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing we don't get. Well, I'm not as good as him. Yeah, but you haven't got 50,000 people looking for your ball.
That shouldn't be.
You've got geezer carrying your clubs for it, telling you what to hit, where to hit it, how to hit it.
Trust me, the ones that you are watching at the top level are +6, +7 golfers. Even your scratch golfers at clubs wouldn't get close to them.
No. Let's see them around Chow on a Sunday morning. We'll see how good they really. Let's see how good they really are.
Half 7 light up balls.
But is that something you see common, Sam? With is that something we're all guilty of? Do we give up too soon? Do we expect results too quickly?
Everyone's different, but I like impatience. That shows me a desire to improve. I think it's like anger. It's a sign that someone cares. It's something that, needs to be monitored and needs to be learn to use it as a fuel to get better. But if you haven't got anger, you won't get better because you won't get pissed off that your ball's not going.
Yeah, there's no desire.
Just got to calm it down a bit for the people on the 15.
I can say anger. Someone's got that in bucket loads, Mr. Gowan, haven't we?
A bit angry.
Very.
I used to be really bad.
I was an angry.
Used to
be.
What do you mean, like used to?
I said really bad. I'm not that bad now.
As a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I was,
throwing clubs, snapping clubs. Also.
Do you hear what he said there? As a 15, 16, 17-year-old, not as a fully grown-ass man.
But I'm basically 16 years old in my head anyway, so I'm basically a child.
Yeah, I snapped one and I felt like a bit of a dick when I did it.
Yeah, you do.
Didn't do it again. It was with someone I really admired as well. I didn't do it again. But yeah, it definitely stunted my development. Remember, your brain remembers trauma.
Yeah.
If you create trauma on your bad ones, you remember your bad ones.
Yeah.
If you can create a trauma on your good ones by going, fucking hell, that was pretty.
Cartwheels. I'm cartwheeling from now on.
I can't wait to see you do a
cartwheel. I was just about to say, I'm going to put money, but you can't do a cartwheel.
I can't do a cartwheel.
Especially slippery, muddy.
Sam, firstly, thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to this. We're going to do this fortnightly.
I'm not sure Sam's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever coming back. Obviously, if people want to get hold of you, you will have new social medias. Miyagi Golf, we will put it on. I don't know exactly what the handles will be. And we've got lots of things coming over the course. We're obviously going to look at some course content we spoke about. We're going to look at potentially
some of the best looking drivers you've ever seen. Check these out.
We are going to potentially, we are going to test these drivers, which are possibly the ugliest things we've ever seen.
I'll put ourselves in the mirror.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah,
the 3 wood's the same size as the 5 wood.
And have you ever seen anything like that? It's like a mallet putter, But
give someone a chance to have a whack. I wouldn't say there's a lot of graphite in it, but
I'm not sure there's anything in it.
it's all yours.
yeah, but obviously with content, we're gonna
a game
give him a bash.
changer,
We're
telling
gonna
you.
everything else like that.
Game changer.
So if you want to get
Yeah,
hold of
God,
Sam
God.
and obviously reach out to him, like I say, we're going to be bringing tips and everything, but not from us because we don't know what we're doing. Gentlemen, I think we'll wrap that up for today for the first episode of SPADS Golf. Sam, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Sam.
And
Cheers.
we will
Cheers, boys.
catch up with you all again soon in a fortnight's time.